Walker versus Ely Kassis. Headwalker in the feature match area earlier against Oliver 2, where he picked up a win. Ely's on the play this match. He is on a 6-card hand, and this is one of the matchups where that could be relevant. Noah starting on Deathrite Shaman. When we've seen 4-color win this matchup, it's been on the basis of its card advantage.
And ultimately, Ely wants to get a Sensei's Divining Top on the battlefield. That's just going to be true in all of the matchups. So going down cards is not the end of the world, but he does need to find that top.
Oh, right. That's with Miracles. Actually, as far as raw card advantage, cards that make 2 cards, they don't have too much of it. So Sensei's Divining Top, in a lot of ways, is their draw spell. Now, the idea, if you can't draw extra cards, you can just draw better cards. Counterbalance the turn 2 play from Ely. A Thoughtseize from Noah gets hit by a blind flip of the counterbalance, showing Swords to Plowshares.
That is unfortunate.
Wow. Okay, speaking of card advantage, there's some right there.
Yeah, when you get the blind flip of the natural counterbalance, it's already paid for itself.
And Deathrite Shaman will swing, putting Kassis down to 18, and just a go from Walker.
Even without a Sensei's Divining Top, if Ely can cast some Brainstorms, he can set up to counter more spells with that counterbalance.
So Ely is going to continue to develop his mana. The 3rd land, he draws that Swords to Plowshares that was blind flipped and uses it to remove Deathrite Shaman. Now keep in mind with the Noah Walker build of 4-color control, there's no card like True Name Nemesis in his list, something that would be safe from Swords to Plowshares.
Just a bunch of creatures that are equally vulnerable to Terminus and Swords.
Right, so ideally he's looking for cards in like Baleful Strix, things that, or Leovold, things that generate a card either on the way in or on the way out.
Right.
Snapcaster Mage by Noah. Blind Flip does not counter. Shows a 0 on top of the deck, which means it's safe for this Thoughtseize to get fired off, and Noah's going to do just that. Thoughtseize, counterbalance trigger on the stack. Ely will crack a fetch land. He'll get another shot at blind countering. If his deck can put a 1 on top.
The card that Ely really wants to see on top
Divining
here is
top.
Yeah, exactly.
Counter Thoughtseize, draw top. That would be really strong.
Drawing his best spell and countering the spell on the stack.
And he hits it. Oh my. Yeah, so another blind counter with the literal best card in his deck.
That was above average.
And he'll cast Divining Top. Swing from Noah Walker by Snapcaster Mage. And now top and counterbalance put together.
And Noah technically is on the battlefield. He's got that Snapcaster Mage beating down, so he has that going for him.
Noah will then now try Jace the Mind Sculptor. He's not going to be able to break countertop up. Can he land his 4-mana Planeswalker? Does Ely find a 4 on top?
4-mana spell or a Force of Will. Those are the 2 things he's looking for here.
Right, his own Jace. He has 2 of those. That's his only 4-mana spell. No copies of Venser in the list. And did not find it, so he will Force of Will away the Jace. Has to exile Snapcaster Mage.
Now Ely is a little bit light on resources besides the countertop package.
Sure. Noah's is somewhat light on cards as well. Ely makes a 4th land. Got 4 in hand, it looks like. Swing to put Ely down to 12. But Noah has to take this aggressive role. He'll Abrupt Decay the counterbalance.
That is significant.
Right. Top 3 cards for Ely. He doesn't have anything that can protect counterbalance here. That's going to go. Now Noah will cast Ponder. And with counterbalance off the table, his 1-mana spells are unlocked. With counterbalance and Divining Top, Ely can always counter a 1-mana spell. Noah looking for more action. Shuffles on the Ponder. That's going to be Deathrite Shaman. I believe Ely has a copy of Entreat the Angels in hand here. See him crack a fetch land. So if he can find a Brainstorm, a way to set that up to miracle it, maybe he doesn't need to reestablish his lock. He can just win that way.
Right. Now, what he has to do is deal with these threats. He's already down to 11. Finding a Brainstorm for that Entreat or finding a Terminus is really what he's looking for here.
Top 3 on after cracking a fetch land. It's a new 3 cards.
Just keeps them how they were.
Oh, looks like just wasted a mana.
Oh, but it looks like he kept them how they were because they were garbage, as Predict was the card that he drew.
Sure. So he'll know the next card as Island. Mills that. He got it wrong. He only drew 1.
Oh, yikes.
You saw his face. Yeah, he just forgot the order. Oh. 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 We've been there.
Ooh.
Swords away the Deathrite Shaman.
Four pairings are going up. Once again, still spectacular players.
Spins top.
The worst thing is, it's not like he shuffled them around and forgot what order.
No,
he picked them up and put them back exactly.
Well, there was no play from Noah, so Ely's going to try for Jace the Mind Sculptor here. Despite the fact that he's been taking damage, that was very surprising to see that last turn there was no play from Noah. Is Jace going to resolve it? I would think so. I think it won't. All right, Colligan's Command. Going to deal 2 damage. This is with the Brainstorm ability of Jace on the stack. It's 2 damage to Ely, redirected to Jace, and having Ely discard.
This makes it so Ely's looking at fewer cards as he has to put things back on the top of his deck.
Right, this means the Snapcaster Mage will be able to finish off Jace the Mind Sculptor. Noah's going to Ponder.
Yeah, Noah also really wanted that spell to resolve, so if you let the Brainstorm resolve, it's more likely that that spell gets Force of Willed.
Sure. So, Jace down. Both players just 4 lands, and Noah will make a 5th and cast Jace the Mind Sculptor, which he found off Ponder. Force pitching Force for Ely, but he is empty-handed now.
And down to 8.
And Miracles Entreat the Angels. He had put it back. We talked about how it was in his hand that whole time. Because he got the Jace Brainstorm off, he's able to put it on top of his deck. So now 8 power in play. It's going to be the last thing that Noah has to deal with.
And Ely's in a position to attack with one Angel, leave the other one back if he's concerned about his life total.
Yeah, he actually still has advantage if this is just down to a straight race. He's a 3-turn clock to 4 from Noah. So you're right. He can split the difference, or he can just go swing all out.
Just have to be a little bit concerned about getting hit by lightning bolts or Colligan's commands. That would change the clock. But yeah, you could just choose to be aggressive. Noah is only playing 1 lightning bolt.
Brainstorm from Noah plays a fetch land. Ely will cast Sensei's Divining Top. In response, Noah's going to crack that fetch. And for a land, and to just cast Force of Will on the Divining Top. 5 mana. So Noah now empty-handed. The top of his deck is unknown. What I do like, so it's a 3-turn clock, and Ely has some extra damage. So on one of these turns, if he wants to only swing 1 Angel, he can leave 1 back and still have a 3-turn clock.
Right.
He can't do it twice.
Oh.
And a huge top deck for Noah. Engineered Explosives set to 0. Can't do that one faster. Ely's down to 6.
And that one's a lot better against Angels than it is against Monastery Mentor.
Well, he's going to Miracle Terminus then. And kind of for Ely, he had to Miracle it to get rid of the Snapcaster, but that means Noah gets to keep the explosives around for the next Entreat. Players now trading draw steps, looking for a damage source. Noah at 11, Ely at 6.
Ely does have a Council's Judgment in his deck, so potentially he could get rid of the explosives before he has to Entreat again. Also, 1 copy of Unexpectedly Absent.
For Ely, he hits Brainstorm. Maybe he's the first person to draw out of this. So I don't know if he has a shuffle effect. It might just be a Brainstorm lock. And Noah, well, he'll play just a straight draw spell, Night's Whisper.
Yeah, that one's looking really good here.
Yeah, I keep saying that. This card is very good in this matchup. And you're kind of seeing right now as it draws him into Baleful Strix, into Brainstorm. Just on raw cards. I mean, they're playing a top deck game, right? But Noah has 6 lands, a creature, and an Engineer Explosives to Ely's 5 lands and fewer cards. Just over this game, Noah's about +4 cards right now.
And Ely's at 6. That Baleful
Right.
Strix is a real clock.
Make that 5 on the attack. Brainstorm from Noah Walker. Finds a copy of Leovold and a fetch land to complete the Brainstorm. Without his heavy punches, the fact that Noah has more 2-for-1s just means he just pulls ahead just in the regular game here. He's going to cast Leovold. Sixth land from Ely. Could hard cast a Terminus now if he has one. It's going to be Engineer Explosives on 3. That'll do well to take care of Leovold. It actually is one of the few cards that cleanly answers Leovold.
Right, though for 5 mana, it's a little rough. But he just has to. He's at 5. He can't take 3 damage from Leovold here.
Right. Noah going to crack a fetch land. He had brainstormed last turn, so this was expected. 7th land on play for Noah. So I do wonder how many actual mana-producing lands he has in his deck.
He still has an island and a swamp hanging out in the deck, and then it looks like 8 total dual lands. 2 Traps,
Okay, so
3
he
Underground
can
Seas,
get up
2
to
Volcanics, and a Badlands.
Leovold is taken care of by the explosives. Ely hit down to 4. Baleful Strix continues the attacks.
Must be 10 in case he needs a double Force of Will.
Looks like maybe Swords to Plowshares from Ely on the Baleful Strix. Noah will Brainstorm. This much is fine. You see Brainstorm finds another Baleful Strix. It's probably fine just letting this get swords and replacing the 1/1.
Yep.
Because Entreat the Angels isn't an out anymore. Noah still has that explosives. It's just not that much to worry about.
Also, in the case of something could go wrong, if he did have a counter spell, fighting over that thing instead of the removal spell for his Strix just makes more sense. And he gets the Strix here with enough mana to leave up Force of Will too, which is really nice.
Plays Strix, draws a card, ponders. Yeah, Noah just another Strix in the top 3. So much card advantage out of the 4-color deck. It's enough that he's going to decline the 3rd Baleful Strix.
Possibly missing the interactive element. Maybe he just doesn't have the Force already.
Sure. Or perhaps if the other 2 cards are bad, Strix isn't worth drawing.
True.
And Ely draws just has to say go. The beats continue. Ely down 1 at a time. 4 to 3. Deathrite Shaman from Noah. This is going to be lethal on the next turn. Brainstorm from Kassis. Two cards back on top here, but I'm not sure what he's still looking for. I guess
Look, he found a
yeah.
Brainstorm, so he shuffled away there. And he's dead to the Shaman trigger now because of that fetch land.
Right. Council's Judgment in his top cards. You'd mentioned that as a possible way to get rid of Engineered Explosives, but at 2, I don't believe Ely can make that play.
Yeah, we're past that phase.
Well, he does have Brainstorm Terminus, it looks like, in hand, so I'll make that Council's Judgment. So he can Council's Judgment here. Noah with Counterspell. And that'll do it. What Ely had set up as his top card there was Terminus. On Noah's turn, he could Brainstorm into the Terminus.
This game was really a testament to the strength of the 4-color control deck.
Right. You just fell in this control mirror that Noah was going to just have more resources at the end of the day.
Ely blind countered with Counterbalance, and then did it again, finding Sensei's Divining Top, and still lost.
It reminds me when you see this matchup between Shardless and Miracles, a similar thing would happen. And in a lot of ways, the 4-color deck is kind of like an evolution of Shardless. We still Shardless Sultai. You do see that deck played sometimes, but as far as like the cards that matter, right? It's Shardless Sultai was a deck of raw card advantage and abrupt decays.
Right.
And this is doing a very similar strategy.
Yes, both heavy Baleful Strix decks, what have you.
So we're going to look at the sideboard. So starting on Ely Kassis, he's got some Pyroblasts, 3 of them. He has 2 Blood Moons, 2 Containment Priests, 2 Rest in Peace, 1 Monastery Mentor. It's his only one of the 75. And a Snaring Bridge, a Moat, a Vendilion Click, a Flusterstorm, and a Wear Tear. I assume he wants anything that can resemble card advantage.
Yeah, there's not really a lot in the way of that. The Monastery Mentor makes some amount of sense just to have another thing to apply pressure. Noah demonstrated a heavy ability to interact with Ely's way to actually win the game. Noah did show Ely 8 non-basic lands and no basics in that game, so Ely might think that this Blood Moon is more live than it is. You know, Noah does have Island Swamp in his deck and those Deathrite Shamans, but the Blood Moon is enticing.
Yeah. Not all the 4-color players we've seen have the basic lands. We saw Ted Felicetti earlier today on a similar list, no basics in the 75. So Ely could just expect that the Blood Moon would be lights out.
Right.
Even so, with 1 of each basic in Noah's deck, Blood Moon might still be worth it. If Ely's lands were, it's a island and a swamp and a bunch of mountains. If that happens, I don't know that Noah can win from there either. Can't cast Leovolds.
Yeah, it does slow Noah down quite a lot.
On Noah's side, he's got 3 Diabolic Edicts. That's for true name Nemesis. 2 Surgical Extractions, 2 Flusterstorms, a Toxic Deluge, a Pyroblast, a Red Elemental Blast, a Thoughtseize, an Invasive Surgery, a Vendilion Click of his own, a Forked Bolt, and a Grim Lavamancer.
Pyroblast and Red Blast are great. They fight over a lot of the spells that matter in this matchup. Thoughtseize is totally reasonable. Vendilion Click is an instant speed spread against Miracles is pretty strong. Flusterstorm can fight a lot of fights. That card is totally fine. Invasive Surgery is kind of the same thing. If you get rid of all of their Terminus, it makes you way more comfortable going wide.
So for Noah Walker, a member of Team Card Hoarder, what a last 6 months he's had. Multiple GP top 8s, including a win. For someone just 20 years of age, this is a sign of things to come. Really, we saw him, I think, started to see him about last year on the tour and saying, this guy's very good. Now I don't think that's a prediction anymore. That's just a truth.
Yes, very strong technical player. A lot of chops in Legacy.
Yeah, not surprising for a player like this. You know, being 20 certainly can't really be a Legacy specialist. You know, they haven't played it for long enough. Not surprised to see him coming in playing just a good cards deck with a lot of control sequencing and just out-decisioning his opponents.
Yeah, the deck he was playing previously was Grixis Delver. In many respects, this deck is an evolution of that deck.
Ely can see some successes of his own on the circuit, on the Grand Prix circuit as well. Top 4ing the Team Grand Prix just last weekend, along with teammates Gerard Fabiano and I believe in Ben Lundquist.
Yep.
Ely on the play starts with a turn 1 Sensei's Divining Top. It's going to be a check on Noah Walker's Force of Will. There's none, so top resolves. Actually, a lot of times you don't even see Force of Will in the game 2s.
Yeah, Force of Will being card disadvantage is not ideal. Frequently you want to pick a battle over Counterbalance and Jace the Mind Sculptor, though having access to Abrupt Decay makes that less of an issue because you can deal with Counterbalance cleanly.
All right, so mentioned we saw game 1, 4-color winning off card advantage. Players just trading land drops for the first couple turns here. Land drops with Sensei's Divining Top is kind of like the Miracles card advantage.
Yeah, right.
It's like, yeah, I'll draw better cards than you, very slowly.
Well, this is one of the matchups where it's just not necessarily true that they're drawing better cards. The card quality in 4-color control is obscenely high.
Yeah, the card quality is very high. I guess what Ely gets to do is the land spell ratio. He can't mess it up when he has a top in play.
Right.
Noah can flood out. But if Noah has enough card draw, enough Baleful Strixes, Knights, Whispers, Snapcaster Mages, it's not really like Noah's going to flood out either. Or he might draw a lot of lands, but he'll find something to do with it.
Right.
And for the first 4 turns, no plays from either player. Both players wanting to transition into the late game. Normally, when you see just land drops trading for the first 4 turns against a Sensei's Divining Top, you look at this board and you say Miracles is never going to lose.
And historically, that was generally true. There's a small number of decks in Legacy that
can
make
win
that
from
not
here.
the case. And just these innovations of this 4-color control deck, this deck is so good at going long. And it's a lot of small-looking effects, right? Kolaghan's Command, it took a minute to actually settle as a legacy playable spell.
Right.
Knight's Whisper is not much to look at.
Well, dealing 2 damage to a creature is not, I guess, if there's enough Deathrite Shamans running around, it's probably a kill spell, so then it's a 2-for-1. But
Though
there's
that
a lot
happens
of
on turn 3 against a mana accelerating creature.
Yeah, and I mean, it's certainly in a combo matchup, like this card is
Yeah.
just is bad.
Yeah, it's really, the way this deck is configured, it wants to hit a lot of land drops. It can actually, with some regularity, use Snapcaster Mage to flash back Kolaghan's Command. It's just there's a very high volume of value in this deck.
Vendilion Click from Noah Walker. Well, if you want to look at control mirrors, this card is always excellent in them. I think both players assume this is all on Ely's end step, that this is going to get hit by some sort of Swords to Plowshares, but it'll do something.
And Ely not playing any Caracas, so the Click, if it doesn't get hit by a spell, it does just get to hang around.
Looks like it resolves. Ely's going to let Noah see his hand. And you look at this, he had Pyroblast for it, and she says, yeah, it's fine. Could have hardcast Force of Will, hardcast Pyroblast. Unexpectedly absented it with it on the stack. None of that.
Yeah, a lot of times when your hand is just all reasonable action, you just don't bother fighting over Vendilion Click. He has plenty of ways to solve the problem of Noah controlling a Vendilion Click as well. Not to mention what might be on top of his deck that he can access with the Sensei's Divining Top. And Ely ended up taking the Red Elemental Blast effect out of Ely's hand.
Okay, so Pyroblast gone. There's that Entreat in Ely's hand. Remember, that's his win condition. In a control mirror, that can be a tough one. Leovold now joining next to Vendilion Click. Noah commits a second creature here, which does open himself up to a card like Terminus.
The suggestion seems to be that Noah thinks that this one will invite a Force of Will, or that Noah's capable of fighting a battle.
Yeah, and Ely has to choose whether he wants to fight right now. I mean, guess what? With 3 fetch lands and a top, if Ely really wants to find a Terminus, Ely's going to find a Terminus.
In theory.
It's not a certainty. He gets so many looks.
Right. And he can do all this looking before the Leovold resolves, too.
Right, so Leovold is still on the stack at the moment. Looks like it's going to be on a Vendilion Click of Ely's own, actually not looking for Terminus. Remember, Noah's a deck with a lot of red blasts. He'll go ahead and Red Elemental Blast the Click. We saw this in the mirror between Noah and Oliver, too, that Red Blast is really one of the most powerful sideboard cards for this deck. Powerful enough that it actually, I believe, made it into the main deck of Noah's deck.
He's playing 1 Pyroblast in the main. That's something you see with some regularity in Vintage, because blue is the only playable archetype outside of artifacts.
Miracles, you used to see them play a couple red blasts in the main.
You used to be able to brainstorm and top it away when it didn't matter.
Top cards for Kassis. Brainstorm, land, looks like some white spell. Might be Council's Judgment.
These kind of configurations, when you do things like main deck Pyroblast, they really help explain Andrew Jessup's success on this weekend.
Yeah. I'm playing all green cards. This is all still with Leovold on the stack. We're still there. Everything's happening at instant speed. Ely now cracked a fetch land in his spinning top.
This is one of the things that Legacy players really enjoy about Legacy. There's just a ton of game actions happening right now. The fact that you get to look at 9 to 12 cards before you decide what you want to do puts a lot of the gameplay into your hands.
Rearrange the top 3. He has 1 more fetch land he can use if there's something he's looking for and didn't find. Those fetch lands, though, a valuable resource when you have Divining Top. Now Ely takes his turn. He's going to Miracle Entreat. With that in his hand, he's going to crack a fetch land. You know, I do like this from Ely. He has Force plus blue card in his hand. With only 1 mana up from Noah, I would think Ely can win this fight. Now, you have to remember, last game, Noah responded with Engineered Explosives.
Right. Yeah, he has some outs to this.
And if Noah's hand is Red Blast Engineered Explosives, Ely's just playing right into him.
Right.
Miracles it for the full 3.
This would be a window if Noah brought in those Flusterstorms off the sideboard. That could be significant, though it looks like those Angels are happening.
You're right, if there was a Flusterstorm, you can't force back, so Ely gets 3 Angels and says go. Now, so no to the Flusterstorm, yes to the Engineered Explosives. There's a forced blue card in Ely's hand. No one knows about it. Deathrite Shaman from Noah. Makes me think he does not have that 1-2 punch. Outside of the explosives, what do we have from Noah that could deal with this? Once it's on the board.
There's a sideboard Toxic Deluge. This does not really seem like the matchup for that.
No, I don't think that's where you'd certainly want to fight it on the stack instead with Flusterstorm.
Using Jace to bounce them over time.
Now, this is something we talked about during sideboarding. Blood Moon from Ely Kassis. Didn't know if he'd bring it in. It's going to be great here. Now, if the Angels already won, this is some pretty free information that Noah's getting, that Ely has brought in this card.
Yeah, assuming that you were going to get there on the Angels and not casting the Blood Moon would be rather precarious.
Yeah, Noah's a strong enough player that you probably just, you know, you don't want to let up. Just lock in your win, and Noah's far too good at stealing it. In response to Blood Moon, looks like Noah's going to float black-green, let it resolve, and then Abrupt Decay it.
Pointed at an Angel.
Decays at an Angel.
That's what it looked like.
We'll confirm on that. No, he is decaying an Angel. Okay, Blood Moon is still on the stack. In response, Ely is going to unexpectedly absent Leovold. Noah's going to crack a fetch. So yeah, Blood Moon on the stack. Abrupt Decay on Angel is on the stack above that. Unexpectedly Absent is on the stack above that. And now Noah's drawing a card. Yeah, so it's fetching. He's fetching. Okay, draw triggers on the stack, 4th. Is the 4th highest on the stack. And now we have a fetch. So stack is 4 deep. You either love this or hate this part about Legacy.
A lot of stuff happening. On the topic of offering information, Noah does search for the basic swamp here.
Okay, so acknowledging Blood Moon might resolve. He has Deathrite Shaman in play as well, so it's not like he's completely cut off his mana colors.
Right.
All right, so you drew the card off Leovold. Unexpectedly Absent is still on the stack. That resolves. Leovold goes on top of the deck. Abrupt Decay resolves on the Angel token, and now with Blood Moon still on the stack, Noah's going to force pitching Spell Snare. Ely can force back. And he will. He will pitch Predict to his own Force of Will. Yeah, I mentioned for Predict. So now Blood Moon resolves. And a swing of 8. Interestingly enough, because of that Force of Will and the fetch land, Noah had to go to exactly 16.
Yeah.
Inconvenient number. Plays another. Remember, Noah has a bunch of mountains in that basic swamp, so cannot gain life off any creatures. I don't even know if we have any creatures in the graveyard.
It looks like he's signing up to chump block one of the Angels, the Vendilion Click here.
Looks like it as well. Noah goes to 4, blocks 1. This is the weekend I think we've seen the most Predicts out of Miracles decks. Remember, Sam Rook is playing 3 copies of Predict. Is this kind of the Miracles answer to Night's Whisper, you know?
I think that this innovation took off before Night's Whisper did.
Colgan's command is going to try to finish off one of the Angels and have Ely discard.
Ely's going to trade up his top in response. Looks like he wants to fight over this. Looks like he's brainstorming and he has the second copy of Entreat the Angels.
Sure.
And 2 basic planes still.
Yeah, he plays basic lands. That's fine. All right, that's going to work. Go to Noah's turn. Ely discards a Tundra. But Noah's still at 4. There's still a 4/4 in play. It's going to ponder. Shuffle. Yeah, I remember he could not buy back that Mendelian Click as a blocker because he's got a stack of mountains in front of him. Can't cast it. Ponder had to use Deathrite Shaman's mana, and yeah, no out there for Noah. So we're going to go to a third game between the two players. We see game 1, Noah card advantages his way out of it. Game 2 was looking to be a similar set, except that despite his card advantage, Noah didn't really have an answer to Entreat the Angels. And then he certainly didn't have an answer to Blood Moon.
Right, it was a 1-2 punch of kind of 2 problems that Noah had an issue with, and Ely even had that second Entreat as a backup from there, even if Noah could solve that problem. So things just did not line up well for Noah. If there was no Blood Moon, I suppose he still needs to answer that last Angel on the table, but he could have returned the Vendilion Click and taken care of the second Entreat anyway.
Right, because once Miracle, there's a window for Vendilion Click to get it. Players make ready for a third game here in this control mirror. Remember, the loser of this is out of the tournament. Dead for top 8, so a lot on the line here. Over at StarCityGames.com, we have the Star City Games newsletter. This comes out every week. It is featuring a lot to offer from the SCG Tour. We have strategy advice from some of the top players on the tour, including highlights from last weekend's events and where to find the upcoming events near you, whether they're opens or invitational qualifiers or game nights. It's free to sign up for. No reason not to. StarCityGames.com/newsletter.
No reason to pass on free value. It's just good information that you can access for free.
So for Ely Kassis, player from the New York area, the 33-year-old at 12 open top 8s, he's still looking for his first win. Though quite the innovator of card decks on his own, really helped popularize Bant Retreat in Modern. He's been playing Miracles forever. Also known really to be quite the card collector. A lot of times we see him with miscut foils, kind of as his trademark. Not on that this weekend, but.
This does have some Guru basics. Those are real nice.
No, Ely's cards are very good.
Something about the term avid volley baller doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, he's a volley baller. Game 3 quick here for Noah Walker and Ely Kassis. Noah starts on basic Swamp, Volcanic Island into Ponder from Ely. So I mentioned before about Predict, just kind of showing up here. Do you think, it took a long time for Miracles players to all start playing Ponder, but eventually that just, people decided was right. Is Predict headed the same way, or is Predict a situation where it's like, I got to fight these control mirrors, I need some 2-for-1s?
Yeah, I think that this innovation likely had a lot to do with the rise in the popularities of just the Miracles mirror.
Sure.
So drawing extra cards is nice there.
Players trading lands again. Remember, last game, players traded lands up until 5.
It's also the case that when you're killing with Monastery Mentor, more cards in hands, that's really nice.
Yeah. Noah can fight a control mirror as long as he has the answers, but there's some hard stuff to answer, particularly Entreat the Angels. Because a lot of Noah's sideboard counterspells come in the form of red elemental blasts, he's actually not well positioned to win a counter war over Entreat.
Noah is set up here with his 2 basic lands. We'll find out if that is a boon or a liability for him.
Yeah.
He's playing a lot of colored mana requirements.
I'm wondering are we even sure Blood Moon's still in the deck for Ely?
Right.
He got him with it game 2. That might just be enough. Looks like yes, there's one in Ely's hand, so that'll answer that. No plays yet for either player outside of some cantrips. Noah goes Accelerate, is on the play here turn 4. We saw when they were playing the 4-color mirror, turn 4 was kind of the action turn against Oliver 2. Turn 4 was Leovold plus a red blast. And maybe Noah's doing the same thing here. Leovold with 1 mana up certainly feels the same.
Right.
If I'm Ely, I'm putting Noah over 90% to have some sort of red blast effect in his hand.
Right.
One thing I do like out of Miracles, though, is they do have clean answers to Leovold. We saw Engineered Explosives kill 1. Terminus can kill 1.
Ely has red blasts of his own.
Right. And you see he miracled the Terminus to the top of the deck, and now just casts Terminus. 1 for 1. Easy enough.
And he even has Red Blast in his hand, saving that to fight over a counterspell or even Jace the Mind Sculptor on the following turn.
And Noah's going to try to fight back with Force of Will, but this is working out very well for Ely. He can get another 2. He can get a 2 for 1 here with Pyroblast. And actually let the Terminus get Force of Will. Says go. All right, so he's not fighting. Why isn't he fighting here? It seems like he should care about Leovold, but I trust Ely seems in control of this situation.
What are the odds that he just has second
A
Terminus?
second, oh, that'd be so good. That when he brainstormed in response to Leovold, he put Terminus on top of the deck.
It's also possible that he's just really concerned about Jace the Mind Sculptor as a follow-up.
Oh, if he had forced there, Noah could have just slammed a Jace, and then Ely's done.
If you're not trying to cast Brainstorms and Ponders, Leovold's just a 3/3.
Here's Jace the Mind Sculptor, yeah.
Yeah, Jace, you have to answer a lot quicker.
Pyroblast from Ely. Noah may not have expected a Pyroblast, especially not with how that last turn played out.
Yeah, not after resolving Leovold and Force of Will.
Right. And Ely, interesting enough, had Pyroblast at both moments there. So, Jace targeted by Pyroblast. You know, if worse comes to worst, Ely can always Swords to Plowshares.
Right.
A Leovold. Yes, Noah draws a card, but Ely's gotten some 2 for 1s here. Noah's cast some Force of Wills. Fluster Storm will take care of Pyroblast. That means Ely's going to have to use Force of Will on the Jace. And only 1 card in hand for Noah, so this is definitely going to work. So 1 card for Noah, 2 or make it 3, drawing to 4 for Ely, and it was a second Terminus. What a setup here by Ely. And then the Blood Moon. This has been really impressive. When he brainstorms in response to Leovold, he puts 2 Terminus on top so that the first can be used as a bait spell. And in the end, he gets a clean answer to Leovold. He gets Noah's Jace, he gets Noah's Force of Will, and gets a Blood Moon to stick.
Yeah, this has worked out really well for Ely.
This is some great magic here. Now, he only has 1 basic plane, so we're a long ways off in Treat the Angel. Noah has time.
Right.
And catch Engineered Explosives on 3. Now, thanks to Blood Moon, Noah can actually make that play.
Yeah,
with his
he
2
had
basics.
his 2 basics, so that's the only way that or Deathrite Shaman we could actually get that this high.
All right, so Noah, that's going to resolve. So clean answer to Blood Moon from Walker. We are still playing. Ely has not assembled anything like Sensei's Divining Top. That would be among his best draws here.
Noah actually displaying some patience with the
Yeah.
explosives. He wants to wait until he can actually make use of the mana available, because Ely is a little bit restricted by the Blood Moon himself.
Yeah, neither player is playing more lands here, or anything like a Divining Top. You're right, 1 blue, 1 white.
Can't cast Counterbalance, can't cast Entreat the Angels.
And both players, they've traded draw steps now for a couple of turns. Ponder for Kassis. So it's essentially an empty board. Actually, no, because Noah has the explosive, Noah controls the board here. When he has a good play, he can end step crack, and now he will make that. So, Blood Moon off the board. Noah's opening the window for, well, a main phase Brainstorm.
Looks possible that the thing that he wanted to unlock here was a fetch land.
Snapcaster Mage from Ely. Looks like it could target a red Elemental Blast. Counterspell from Noah Walker on Snapcaster Mage. Ely's got tools of his own. Swords to Plowshares, Terminus, Brainstorm. These are all cards in Ely's hand. Force of Will.
Legacy Classic players. That is time.
It's kind of interesting that in this 4-color matchup, this control mirror, you still have to keep in some number of Force of Wills. Despite it being a bad card, it's like it's necessary evil.
The games are going to go long. So the card disadvantage is unfortunate, but they're also, you have ways to make it up.
So Noah does convert the Brainstorm and then plays a fetch land. So cracking it, he'll get to reset his hand. It's possible that in those other turns, Noah's hand had gotten pretty bad. Certainly after a Brainstorm and a fetch land, I don't expect his hand to be bad anymore.
I would hope not. That's a lot of looks to be left over with garbage.
10 minutes remain between game 3 here between Kassis and Walker. Four mana from Ely. He's just going to run. He runs the Jace into 6 mana. A bold move for sure. Noah will brainstorm. With the number of red blasts, I guess Noah has 2, 1 main, 1 board, or 2 board. A pyro between Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast, he has 3 copies of that effect. Noah has already used at least 1.
It's the Meddling Mage Cabal Therapy split.
There is a but there's a slight functional difference between the 2 cards, but they're basically the same thing.
One of them is technically better, but you have a split because of cards that name cards.
Well, which one's technically better?
It depends on the situation.
Right. Wait, that's what I mean.
One of them is more. One of them is more commonly better.
Yes.
And that's enough to be better.
People say Pyroblast is better. I'm like, yeah. What about my Spell Skite? And I'm like, okay. Vendilion Click end step here from Noah. The Jace resolved and plus 2'd. So Ely used the Jace to scry a card to the bottom. Vendilion Click end step here from Walker. Ely will brainstorm. He's got Force plus blue card. He could fight over this click. And it appears he's going to. Force of Will pitch another copy of Predict. And Noah's got to be happy to be getting these 2-for-1s out of Ely's. Like the second Predict is pitched to Force of Will.
In particular with the Jace just going up to 5 immediately, though he really needs to start doing something about that Jace.
Yeah, if he has a blast effect, it can take care of a Jace, whether it's on the stack or on the board. But now Noah taps with 6 lands. He's got to find a way to get rid of Jace. He'll try for Night's Whisper. There's his draw 2, down to 13. A lot of cards in hand for Noah. Sets the Volcanic Island aside. Does he have it? Leovold with 3, leaving up Volcanic Island. I don't think he has a blast yet, so Jace stays. Just land and go from Noah Walker.
Leovold does a great job of policing what Jace is able to do. You can't just brainstorm. Right. That's real bad.
Well, you can Swords to Plowshares the Leovold. Noah will draw a card. Leovold's gone. Noah up to 16. Now Ely has free reign with the Jace. A brainstorm will net him another card. He finds Sensei's Divining Top and another land. He'll get top into play. And another top says go. Back to Noah Walker. The more activations Ely gets off this Jace, the less likely that Noah will be able to win. Snapcaster Mage. That one certainly will get a counterspell. Ely, a Snapcaster of his own. I believe both players with red blasts in their yard, so Ely will Pyroblast the Snapcaster Mage. And that's going to work.
Once again, Legacy 3 p.m. Legacy Chapter players.
Deathrite Shaman from Noah Walker. He does have a Kolaghan's Command to rebuy his Snapcaster. And he may just do that main phase. Kolaghan's Command dealing 2 to Snapcaster, I believe returning Snapcaster Mage to his hand. So he can, that play where he uses Snapcaster on, say, a red blast in his yard, he can try for that again. Ely miracles a Terminus and brainstorms with Jace.
Looks like he found another red blast, too.
Great. It'll take care of the Snapcaster that he knows about. This is kind of the problem here. When everybody's cards trade so evenly, the player with the Jace just draws more cards. And as long as their cards can trade, you know, the player drawing 2 a turn is going to win.
You say that Jace the Mind Sculptor is a pretty good Magic card?
Yeah, it's one of the good ones. The Pyroblast takes care of the Snapcaster Mage. Ely brainstorms again. Now he's starting to pull away. He's going to look for a counterbalance, if they're even in. Entreat the Angels. Noah, land, go. Ely looks at the top 3. Reach cracks the fetch land, wants a new 3. Outside of Entreat, is there anything really that Ely's looking for here?
Just ways to stop Noah from getting back in the game. More counter spells. He can win the game with the Jace. I'm a little curious that Ely didn't trade away one of these tops and shuffle with that, just to get another card into his hand.
I guess there's really no rush. I more or less agree, but if he was a Monastery Mentor build, I would see the reason to keep 2 here.
Right.
Ely's not. But the cost from doing it is so low. He has so much mana that, you know, this may just be safer.
Right.
He can get the extra card if he needs it.
He's very far ahead, so it's a micro thing.
This lets him, if he needs to, repeatedly crack fetch lands, look at cards, and then grab one, crack another fetch land. The second top will give him some more options if it ever comes to that.
Sure.
These are all very minor things.
Yeah, until you're in that position, though, the Jace and the Topper is kind of showing you the same cards.
Sure. Brainstorm from Noah Walker with a fetch land in play. He's still looking for answers to Jace. It looks like he has found one. Upkeep, he'll Red Elemental Blast the Jace. Ely has had a lot of extra cards. We'll see if any of them can convert. Here's a hard cast Force of Will on the Red Blast. Noah's going to fight.
Something.
Yeah, he's... This is kind of the thing when you're behind. What Noah's doing is he's forcing Ely to have specific answers at specific times. Now, it looks like Noah's going to hard cast a Force of Will back. And this is where those tops might come in handy for Ely. We'll see. If he can get a Force and a blue card with both tops, he could... Where he could get like a Force off one, crack a fetch, get a blue card off the other. It's gross. Jace is down. So board is clean, except that Ely has 2 Divining Tops. Life total similar, just under 4 minutes remaining. And it's Deathrite Shaman from Noah Walker. Ely, end step, is going to use Sensei Divine Top to Miracle Entreat the Angels. And this is a big Entreat. 2 white, and if he goes for 4 Angels, that's lethal.
Right.
Could even make extra.
A decent amount of mana left over.
Just going to go for 3 Angels. This will set up the 2-turn clock.
Doesn't want to get Flusterstormed, it looks like.
Oh, and that's smart. So that he could pay for all 3 Flusterstorm copies, and then he'll spin top. Draws and swings 12. Noah Walker can abrupt decay 1 Angel, make that 2 Angels. He'll take 4 and go to 10. So the race is 4 on Ely's side to 2 on Noah's. Ely is up. See, now it makes the Deathrite Shaman unexpectedly absent. He put it under no cards, actually just kind of like remanding it to Noah's deck because he swings 4 again.
Ely is totally fine with that being Noah's draw step. He's otherwise out of cards.
Unexpectedly absented again off Snapcaster Mage. Spins top. Noah says, okay, I'll play it again, you go. Swings 6. Noah blocks, goes down to 2. He had to trade away the Deathrite Shaman, and with that draw, it looks like it's going to be Ely Kassis. And what a control mirror, and really what a game for him.